Welcome home, brave heroes. I'm Ash. This is Ash Quest, and today's episode is brought to you by Wondrous One-Shots. Maybe not brought to you by Wondrous One-Shots. It's not sponsored by Dungeon in a Box. It's actually sponsored, technically, by Shar, who declined to be in this video or on microphone. Wondrous One-Shots will be familiar to anybody who is familiar with Dungeon in a Box, and that's because it's from the same company. Through a subscription service, you can get each month a one-shot experience delivered straight to your door, and it has a lot in common with Dungeon in a Box. DIAB is all about this overarching campaign, while Wondrous One-Shots is, as the name implies, as it gently hints at, just one-shots. I don't know, maybe it's fairly explicit, you tell me. But it does share a lot of the design factors. So same size box, same form factor, acrylic standees, same attention to art, same level of detail and workmanship. Craftsmanship? Dungeonsmanship that goes into the 5e module if you are collecting these for your D&D game nights. You know, usually I enjoy my high fantasy with a dose of camp. In fact, I've always preferred Games Workshop's version of what that fantasy looks like with their Warhammer Old World product lines. There's a level of goofiness in the sculpts, but also an applicable level of grimdark that the franchise tries to convey. And this bleeds over pretty well into their Age of Sigmar sculpts as well. And there are quite a few of these sculpts that can be used on the same table in the same game, and I don't think that there would be a lot of players that would bat an eye, unless they were actually playing Warhammer, in which case you've got two kinds of players, the ones who are like, no, you can't do that. And then the Giga Chad players who are like, yeah, anything goes, everything is canon. Yep, that plush squig, that's a legitimate unit on the table. Go ahead, give him a point value and let's roll. Well, what happens if you add a little bit of love to the mix of grimdark and high fantasy? I'm sorry, I don't have a Slanesh, Keeper of Secrets, so you're gonna get a Khorne, a Bloodthirster. That's gonna be a representation of true love. I'm not proud to say that this is my most expensive intro ever, so maybe the true love here is really what I've put in to represent for you guys. You guys. We're gonna open up this month's theme so you can see why Shar got it. And as you can see, it is a lovely gray tissue paper theme. The gray tissue paper blob is compatible with all hex mats and 1-inch standard grid dungeon boards. It rolls 15 attack dice. Okay. So this one was actually Valentine's Day themed. Doesn't seem to come with a whole lot of content, but it's the depth of the content, not the breadth with which this seeks to impress, m'lady. We get our quality control card here telling you that this box was prepped and checked by an enigmatic brain eater. No doubt a code for a specific employee. You actually get Valentine's Day cards with this one. This was cutting it really, really close in delivery time to be considered anything near useful for Valentine's Day in a practical manner. But if you do it, then, well, you have the cards for next year, I guess. My love for you is no illusion. You're a hoot. Your friendship dwarfs the rest. I must be a gelatinous cube because I always want to be around you. That one. The dwarf was going to win by default until I read the gelatinous cubes. I want to Tarrasque you out. That's let's hold mage hands. Oh, this is like a long distance relationship. This is online only. I can't get ogre you. Be my Valentine. Nothing mimics your love. You give me inspiration. Be my +1. Are you a rogue? 'Cause you've stolen my heart. You're a critical hit. Happy Valentine's Day. We get our standard acrylic bases. We're not going to pop these guys out of their acrylic trappings, but I will show you all of them in as best detail as I can. Whoever can guess kind of the inspiration for this month's Wondrous One-Shots, you'll get 20 points. Well, at least before I reveal it. Drink in the poses, the luxury, the hoity-toityness. This is the nobility of a mythical race. And then as a sharp, harsh contrast, we have these very odd, ugly-looking monsters. They're kind of like so ugly they're cute, though. And you've got this Valentine's Day hunk, a few of them, actually. All hail the queen, the bog kelpie, Dwemercat, and Middengard worm. Yes, that's right. This month's Wondrous One-Shot is A Dance of Love and Blades. Guys, if the lady in your life is reading Romantasy. This might be your way to get her into Dungeons & Dragons. Well, there are actually 2 adventure supplements to hand out. Love affairs between mortals and the Fae are the stuff of legends. Many stories recount the romantic and often steamy adventures that ensue when mortals find themselves tangled up in the unexpected and high-stakes world of fairy love. You don't have to tell me, when you're this big and the fairy that you're in love with is this big, there's all kinds of risks. You might accidentally close her in the fridge. You might accidentally fasten the giant seatbelt in your car too tight over her tiny body. She might accidentally and violently get involved in your game of Friday night cheese throw. The rules presented in this supplement can be used to add an additional dash of spice and intrigue to the events of A Dance of Love and Blades or any other fairy-themed romance your party may find themselves embroiled in. Alright, don't run away if Romantasy isn't your cup of tea. There are actually some well-thought-out RPG mechanics in here that we can take and use as inspiration for other games, even if we're not Dungeons & Dragons players. A fated love is one of them. Stay with me now. This optional rule replaces the fated love mechanic in A Dance of Love and Blades and lends itself to longer adventures set in the plane of Fairy. In this variant, the GM prepares a D100 list before the party enters the plane of Fairy. This list contains every named Fae NPC in the realm, plus whatever other characters the GM would like to incorporate as well. There should be plenty of empty numbers where no name exists. Upon entering the plane of Fairy, the GM asks each player to roll for their character. If the number rolled corresponds to an NPC on the D100 list, then they are fated loves within this world. If the number matches to a blank space, the GM can either fill this in with a future NPC who appears in the narrative, or perhaps no fated love exists for that character. Knowing which characters are fated to be together ahead of time grants GMs more tools and opportunities to create dramatic tension and set moods between the character and their fated love. You can take inspiration from this idea to create scenarios in other games where you don't necessarily have to use romance as the underlying mechanic or theme for this mechanic. You can have a fated duel, a fated enemy, nemesis. You could have a fated patron, a sort of warlock partnership that opens up as soon as the creature is freed by the hero. You can use the D100 roll chart to have groups of 10 and 10 names inside each of the 10 groups or categories. They could be the exact same 10 names over and over again, but each group is a different context, like this is fated to be a meeting that ends in betrayal. If you roll the name in this group, it's fated to end peacefully. You'd have them roll the D100 multiple times. I would say multiple D100, but comment down below if you have more than one D100. Most people don't even have one. And the names that are rolled as a result of those D100s being thrown, well, that just sets up a grindstone course for the heroes, which you could do anyway, but just having the names on there can really help set things up in a vague and still free-form way instead of truly grindstoning your players. We've got other rules here for reaction rolls. The mate bond. Mate bond traits include both members gaining a +1 to AC within 30 feet of each other. So like if your player character and the one with whom you are bonded are within a set amount of spaces on a typical dungeon crawler board, you could receive a bonus to your attack dice. Both members can communicate telepathically while within 100 feet. Shared pain and mated morale once per long rest. If the mated pair are in sight of each other, they can reroll a failed saving throw or ability check. They must accept the result of the reroll. You can sever a mate bond, reject a fated love, and this could be useful for people who don't want to have a fated bond, or they meet their NPC character with whom they are fated to be and decide they don't pass the vibe check. Then we have some drawbacks, some cons that will afflict one or both of the characters. Fae bargains. This optional rule allows the GM to bring in the concept of permanent binding promises that can be made between two Fae or a Fae and a mortal. These bargains can be romantic in nature or simply pragmatic. Either way, the Fae are likely to create linguistic traps or tricks within the phrasing of the bargain, if for no other reason than their own amusement. When making a deal or bargain with a player character, should be largely narrative. There are a few essential components to keep in mind: offer and desire, and the terms. Once struck, all bargains are sealed with a powerful and ancient Fey magic that is more feared than understood. Such a bargain is almost never broken for that very reason. You can implement the mark of a bargain. Consenting parties carry with them a physical change that serves as a reminder of the vow made, perhaps glowing tattoos, shifting eye colors, ethereal veins, hair changes, runic scars, voice alterations. There are rewards and consequences for breaking a bargain. There could be rapid aging, loss of a body part, a burning mark, a binding curse, memory loss, or a hideous transformation. or otherwise just excruciating pain, no big deal. Let's check out the board, and by board I mean the fold-out map that comes with this. A Dance of Love and Blades is primarily set in a universe wherein your mortal party are dealing with fae folk, and fairy kind, and as such, there could be plenty of opportunities for romance to ensue in your campaign, either between players or between players and NPCs. And while this is a treasure trove for people who really get into the roleplay nature aspect of a game like Dungeons & Dragons, perhaps some even playing it for this very purpose, for others this might be just more awkward because they're all about the combat and the competitiveness of the GM versus the players. You GMs know who you are that create that hostile environment and only want to see your players die unless they roll d20s. This sort of gameplay has its merits if everybody at the table is having fun. But don't let this module's theme trap you into thinking that there is no fun to be had. The Fey Bargains is one such way that you can transform your typical Dungeons & Dragons game, using the fairyland rules, as it were, into something that's not necessarily going to be romantic in nature or awkward for all of the 40-year-old bearded men at the table. Listen, it takes all kinds, okay? There's all kinds of parties out there. All shapes, all sizes, all numbers. So what is A Dance of Love and Blades? I've been skirting around the actual overview of the adventure. A Dance of Love and Blades is a romance-themed adventure of a courtly flirtation and dashing adventure designed for a 5th level group of 4 to 6 adventurers, can be played in conjunction with any other existing 5e campaign or as a standalone session. An evening of intrigue, revelry, and maybe even romance awaits when the group is invited to the Plain of Fairy's most lavish ball of the year. In order to impress Queen John Cena? You can't see her. And receive her boon, the boon of invisibility, because she's John Cena's mom. They must secure a partner for the heiress waltz. But the ball is thrown into chaos by the villainous Lord Corriver, who takes the Plain's most eligible bachelors and bachelorettes captive. Hold on. These are the Plain's most eligible bachelors and bachelorettes. These are add-on court characters. We've got Day, Fairth, Day, Kaelina, Night, Prasanna, Night, Senvis, Spring, Freya, Spring, Ceres, Dawn, Goddard and Dawn, Sigurd, Summer, Lieta, text is really small, sorry. Summer, Useno, Winter, Zima, Winter, Rifaera, Autumn, Vesta, and Autumn, Aria. I'm gonna butcher all of those names. Who are you swiping right on? I know who I'm swiping right on. As the adventurers pursue Corriver to his mountain lair, they encounter a menagerie of creatures, puzzles, and traps, culminating in a dramatic confrontation with the Lord himself and his secret accomplice, the Betrayer. We've got a whole section here on player buy-in being very important to get people to kind of be on board with the idea of the theme. This section does acknowledge that romance can be uncomfortable for some players and GMs. So talk with your players before beginning play to set the tone of the adventure and check in about what level of comfort everyone has with role-playing romantic scenes. If the players are not comfortable running an adventure with strong themes of romance, the game can still be enjoyed by using dice rolls to replace role-play interactions, or the romance elements can be skipped over entirely. But on the other hand, this adventure also presents a fun and novel way to roleplay the high drama of love and betrayal. If you think your group will enjoy the roleplay challenge, it can be a good idea to get player buy-in before you play. Ask at the table if there's a player who would be interested in being the focus of a fated love affair with a destined partner. I was going to clown on this a little bit. I was actually going to make light of the content. I actually had a few edits planned when I saw this. I was going to use that scene from Twilight where Edward's like, hang on, spider monkey. That I was going to take the acrylic standees and kind of go up a little mountain. I was going to be like, I know what you are. Say it. An acrylic standee. But this actually has a lot of good ways to increase the engagement of players at the table, and that's not something that I can clown on. That's not something that I can make fun of. Increasing the engagement of people at the table. That's what it's all about. That is what all of this is all about. None of it really matters, but pretending that it matters can be a great way to make memories. Have fun. Do you remember what fun is like? Do you remember fun? The Valentine's Day cards are a nice touch. They are absolutely on point, super themed to this pack. The fact that it comes out in February, that's fun. And there's plenty of material to take from it and incorporate in other games. I do wish that there was a little bit more content. I don't know if this is normal for the Wondrous one-shots. It's like a very, very short amount of stuff. Very physically height-wise, it's short. It's vertically challenged. Unless this is actually an enemy in the game, and in which case the paper slime citywide destroyer little bit of crinkly paper ASMR there for you, is definitely something to be feared. I know with typical Dungeon in a Box boxes, you get like one exclusive mini per month, and it's usually in a blister package all by itself, but it's usually kind of big. It's kind of like the BBEG of that month's campaign or session. But here, the BBEG is just feelings of betrayal and high drama. Perhaps the BBEG is the romantic feelings that we develop for fictional non-player characters all along. At any rate, if you do know somebody who enjoys the works of Sarah J. Maas, the Court of Thorn and Roses book series, then this might be a foolproof way to get them at your party table, at your D&D gaming table. And on that note, I would like to give a shout out to channel friend FreeWata, who does readings of the Sarah J. Maas books over on his channel. I'll put a link in the description below there. Serendipitously, FreeWata also plays games like Warhammer Total War. You know, those are the things that go together perfectly, Warhammer, Total War, and A Court of Thorn and Roses. And he also has an awesome reading of my own book, Rewonderland, The Mask and the Maiden. So if you want to support my channel, but are too cheap to buy a book, you can go support his channel by listening to him read my book. It's not A Court of Thorn and Roses, but there is a little bit of magic, a little bit of monster, and maybe even a little bit of spice if you know where to look. I'm Ashley, and I approve this message. I want to thank Shar for giving me her Wondrous one-shot box of the month. I don't think she's going to continue subscribing. She just really, really wanted this box. And as for the rest of you, a happy belated Valentine's Day. Watch this next Valentine's Day, and it'll be a happy Valentine's Day on time. Bye for now.
Your skin is pale white. You dress fashionably. I know what you are.
Say it. Out loud. Say it.
Jonas, brother.
That's right. Wait, what?
You better hold on tight, Spider Monkey.